Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. I'm Patrick Daugherty, joined, as always, by Mr. Denny Carter for this 4th of July week, 4th of July extended weekend. It's kind of a weird in-between, like holiday twilight zone. We're recording on Monday, July 3rd, which, going to be honest, it feels like July 4th today.
I don't really know how it's not July 4th.
I know. Many people are saying they don't know how today is not July 4th.
Could we just move it? Could we just move it ahead? Move ahead with just pretend everybody just get on the same page here. Monday's July 4th. We're gonna move forward with that.
And the new July 4th is now the new July 5th. So we're sorry about that if you're planning to do anything fun on Tuesday. We hope you're enjoying the longest, best holiday weekend of the summer. There's a little news to talk about. We are in the dead zone, of course, but Patriots still pursuing DeAndre Hopkins. Denny found an item or something on Dameon Pierce improving his blocking or something. I don't know where he even found this.
It's really exciting, actually. I'm very pumped to talk about it.
He found a blurb that I wrote about Commanders' day 3 running back Chris Rodriguez getting himself into the Commanders' coaching staff's heart by shining on special teams. And there's an interesting piece on the Panthers' Raheem Blackshear, which will be a really interesting topic to talk about because it's a new coaching staff. It's Frank Reich. We know that he designs pretty good running games. We also know that supposed Panthers lead back Miles Sanders has been known to disappoint a coaching staff or two.
Yes.
So interesting item. And then Denny and I will, second half of the show, we're going to just take a look at some late round receivers. We like late round being the 10th or later, going off underdog, ADP. So it is, Denny, we should have probably used a different ADP because there are receivers like who'll go like the 10th or 11th round in normie drafts, aka the drafts I do. They're probably going like the 6th or 7th.
Yeah. But I think that the guys we selected will be available very late in your. They
will be available very, very, very late. But first, Denny, I don't even know. I just wrote that we were going to talk about Twitter. I don't really know what.
Why? What's up with Twitter? What's going on?
The limits, they've been raided. Man, yeah, what a weekend over on the. I mean, let's just be real. None of us, as much as we enjoy like riffing and joking about the collapse and death of Twitter, like this is a extinction level event for people like you and I. Like we have spent so much of our lives cultivating our Twitter personas and just really devoting our entire lives to Twitter. And if this website were to go down, I'm no offense to Blue Sky, but it ain't coming back. Nothing's coming back if Twitter goes down.
I think a little differently on that. I am on the Blue Sky site, as the kids are calling it, and liking it a little more and more each day as people migrate over. We need to get you on board.
I have a code actually. I've been meaning to sign up.
All right, stop being lazy then. Get on.
I can't decide if I want to be Rotopat on there or if I should just be something different.
You don't have a choice. You are Rotopat. You get on there as Rotopat.
You're probably right.
Don't be Patrick B. Daugherty the 5th.
Yeah, I know. But so you like it?
I like it. It's it's bare bones. It's
Isn't that what we want?
Yeah. No. It's back to basics, man. It's back to nature. It's like posting in 2012. This is what it reminds me of. No GIFs. At least as far as I can figure.
They'll be gifts soon, but don't worry, they'll be gifts soon.
The character limit includes the links. Okay, so you got to work. You got to work. Consumers don't understand working to post, and this is something we've had to do.
It sounds kind of like Mario Kart without items. We're like, Mario Kart. It can be really frustrating if you're a born pure racer like myself. We're like, I tear up the courses, and the only times I lose is like if someone blue shells me or I'm struggling to even remember some of the more exotic items. There's like a camera or something.
There's a bomb. You throw the bomb.
There's the bomb. That's really old school, but without the items, I'm the best there is, and I'm still the best there is, even with items. But the way you describe Blue Sky is kind of like Twitter without the items, like only the best. It's all about the posts.
Yeah.
It's not about the GIFs. It's not about the quote tweet within a quote tweet. It's about the posts.
No, and for people with posters brain like you and I, it's a good platform, and I can see it. It's kind of taken off. I will say that your posters brain doesn't go away just because Twitter is down. I'll give you an example. On this weekend, I went to the Shenandoah River with my wife's family, and Twitter was dead, like dead. Okay, like you couldn't get on the site. So I put my phone away for once, and I then went on to post in real life to everyone there about sports, about politics. I posted and posted and posted because that's what I do, and that's what I did before Twitter.
Well, I was gonna say, you just highlighted an interesting phenomenon with like the death of the real life poster. That's like the function we used to serve. Be like a dinner party or just like a hang or like any family function. It's like, Pat or Denny will just say something funny, I'm sure, like maybe a non sequitur of some sort.
Right.
And we still do that, but we just post it to Twitter instead of saying it to people in real life.
Right. They'll say something outrageous like no movie made before 1960 is good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So,
that's just the poster's brain. So we've had an outlet. We don't want that outlet to die. I want everybody to be clear about that. Like we're not like, oh yeah, here we go. Twitter's dying. We don't want it, especially because the fantasy football community depends on Twitter, and so we want it to live.
That's the big problem, is these communities will just not recreate to the extent that they already exist on Twitter, and we need our big, dumb, beautiful Twitter to survive. And at some point, Apple is going to buy it. I don't know when. It's just a matter of if it's too late. And
you've been saying this, and
Apple or one of our big tech overlords, who I would normally be very wary of, is going to buy it. I'm going to be very, very happy.
Overlords, if you're listening, please look into this strongly.
Please look into it. Hey, Comcast, why don't you buy it? Come on. Then Comcast buys it, then Denny's in real trouble. Denny's in real trouble. The Post will be under a microscope like never before.
Oh my gosh! Oh no!
Buys Twitter. I don't think Comcast will be buying Twitter. It doesn't seem to be in our purview.
Hey, look, I'm very clear about something on Twitter, and that is that good and bad things are exactly the same.
They are exactly the same.
Hopefully, Denny, Comcast takes notes.
You know who believes good and bad things are exactly the same?
Who's that?
The New England Patriots, who we touched on last week, extended Devontae Parker for literally no reason. We, of course, did learn over the weekend that the 3-year, $33 million extension that Devontae Parker supposedly signed was, of course, like nothing of the sort. Like, I don't even know what the real purpose of the contract was. I'm sure there's still some like shadowy salary cap reason, but apparently there's very little new guaranteed money. It's basically like a hedge against if he happens to like re-break out this year, which I don't know why Bill Belichick's spending time worrying about such things. Like, that would be really good if that 1% outcome happened, but probably didn't need to be worrying about it now. So when the signing was first announced, people were like, oh, the Patriots are probably out on DeAndre Hopkins. There were immediate reports that they were not. It was a little hard to take at face value. It's easier to take at face value now, though, that we know that Devontae Parker's contract was really not real.
Right.
What do we think of the Patriots still pursuing DeAndre Hopkins? Would this be a good or bad outcome?
Those two things are the same. So I don't.
Good point.
It would be good. It would be good. I will say that. I really want DeAndre Hopkins to end up in the New England offense. I don't really care about Parker. I don't care about Juju. Like, Hopkins' profile is that of a target dominator. Those two guys I just named are not going to challenge him, I don't think, for alpha status in this offense. He's familiar with the offense, with Bill O'Brien's offense. Apparently, all the issues he had with O'Brien are now under the bridge. We're thankful for that. And, look, I don't like to say it, but I have to reiterate it. Mac Jones is probably good. He's probably good.
I'm not sure about that.
No, he's probably good. He everything says
as a
rookie, everything pointed to him being good, not great, but good. And that's all DeAndre Hopkins needs is a good quarterback. So let's get this done. I want to see him there.
So you think July 3rd, you think it might be one of the lower listenership episodes of the year? You can just slip in that Mac Jones is good.
I've said this. I said it 2 weeks ago with you and Kyle. I said, guys, I really hate to report this. I take zero pleasure. But he's probably good. And you can't look at last year. You have to throw last year out completely.
And even last year, it's not like the efficiency numbers were that bad. The yards per attempt did dip under 7, and there was only 7.3 as a rookie. Kind of amongst the boomer efficiency metrics, you have to have a yards per attempt over 7. Right. 6.8 is like not unforgivable. That can happen in the kind of year that like Mac Jones had last year. And I do think Mac Jones was maybe already at his ceiling as a rookie, But as a rookie, that ceiling looked like maybe like the 14th or 15th best quarterback in the NFL, which might sound like damning with faint praise, but like if you're the 14th or 15th best quarterback in the NFL, you're going to be starting for at least 7 or 8 years usually.
Oh, sure.
So yeah, he might be good. He might be good-ish.
No, he's a system guy. Okay, like he needs the system to work for him. He needs it to be easy. He doesn't have much arm strength. Like his throws to the boundary are the kind that you just hold your breath and say, "Oh God, it's a pick six! It's a pick six! Oh God, oh God." Yeah, not the strongest type throw. It's like he has like a Garoppolo arm, but he can be. Oof. Yeah, I know, and yeah, but Garoppolo has had success in good systems. So Hopkins going as wide receiver 22 in underdog drafts right now. I think you have to take, if you think that he's going to New England, you have to take him there because you're basically taking him over the likes of Christian Watson, Jerry Jeudy, Drake London, Mike Williams, and DJ Moore. And I would take Hopkins over all of them, assuming he ends up in New England.
Man, there's a lot of names there. Would you take him ahead of Keenan Allen if you knew he was going to be in New England?
That is a tough. I left his name out on purpose. How dare you bring Keenan Allen into this? Yeah, no, I'd probably go Allen.
Would you take him over Amari Cooper? I think I will. Why is Amari Cooper the wide receiver 18? I don't really understand this one.
I don't either. So yeah, Hopkins for sure.
Amari Cooper is one of my Brandon Cooks all-stars where every year, like, oh, he's going to overperform ADP. It's just like,
right.
It's just inevitable. Wide receiver 18 is just way too low. And then, wide receiver 17.8. Real happy. Thanks.
Back in August, I told you he would be a value, and he was a value by one single spot.
I almost want to make like I will eat this tweet type bet that Amari Cooper will not finish in the top 18 at receiver, by the way. Like, what are the sharpest drafters in the world thinking?
I think they are thinking he will be like a potential wide receiver 1.
Well, they're thinking that like it's going to be like the 2019 Texans offense, and I have my doubts, but we shall see.
I do think that is one thing here. It's the Calvin Ridley effect, really, where like you're trying to take a guy's production, in this case Deshaun Watson's production, from 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, and then just copy and paste it, and bang, okay, we're just going to shift all that stuff to 2023, and then we're going to roll with it, and the Browns offense is going to be amazing. That's a big presumption.
Speaking of Calvin Ridley, would you do Calvin Ridley or DeAndre Hopkins straight up?
Hopkins, it's not even in the realm of possibility. I would say Calvin Ridley over him. I think Ridley's one of the more overdrafted players in fantasy right now.
I do the same. We both do. What does it say about us both approaching 40 boomers? Yeah, Calvin Ridley is just no way. Like so personally conservative. Both of it. That is just no way. I mean,
I know. I do feel that way. I feel like I'm not having any fun by saying Ridley at wide receiver 16, no possibility. But I am saying that.
No, I'm having like real like dad airport brain with Calvin. That's just irresponsible. You got to than that. Which is weird. As I've become more of a dad, I've become like a white knuckle airporter. By the way,
really,
like real white knuckle.
You mean by yourself or with the kids?
Well, but with the kids too, because my wife was born into it, molded by airport white knuckleness for some reason. Or she's like, the flight will be departing in an hour and 20 minutes, and I'll be at home. Like, we've got to leave. Like, I know we live like 20 minutes from the airport, but like, we got to leave. And she's like, just one more minute.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
You're not sitting at the gate with an hour 20 to go?
I usually now get there till about 10 minutes before boarding times when I'll pass through security.
Are you what kind of who are you?
I actually don't know. I don't know how this happened. But
you like gambling? Like
I've never missed a flight. I'll say that.
You should. You know what? Here's a guy like this who gets there 10 minutes before the plane takes off. You need to go to Vegas tomorrow and put everything you have on black in roulette and just let it ride.
So everything I have on the Amari Cooper yardage under. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, well, that's.
Speaking of Amari Cooper, who has never played for the Texans, I was thinking of Deshaun Watson. We're moving on to the Texans. Dameon Pierce, Denny. Where did you even find this item that he's improved his blocking, and why does this matter?
All right.
Can you tell us about it?
I'm gonna pull back the curtain a little bit so you guys can see the sausage being made. I think that's how the metaphor goes. And it was a slow blurb day. And as someone who gets a little panicky when we don't have any blurbs, I Googled. It's a very complicated Google search. It went like this: Texans offense. And I went to the news tab on Google and I found a somewhat recent article, Sports Illustrated piece about Bobby Slowick's offense, PFF Bobby, as we call him, and how Dameon Pierce and or Devin Singletary will fit into that offense. And I drew out this little nugget. It says that Texas running backs coach Danny Barrett said Dameon Pierce has improved his pass blocking this offseason. And I thought at first I thought, okay, who cares? This is what they say. But it actually could mean something. There could be a little significance here, because here's the thing about Dameon Pierce. He was horrendous as a pass blocker last year as a rookie. I had to really go down the list of Pro Football Focus grades to find Dameon Pierce rated the 128th best pass blocking running back in 2022.
Low.
You know who was elite in pass blocking, Pat?
No, come on. Don't even stop. Don't say it.
Devin Q. Singletary the fourth. Yes.
Yikes.
Yeah. He was top 5 in PFF pass blocking grades. So here's what Danny Barrett, the running backs coach for Houston, said. He said he can see the big picture and can identify things quicker to get his pickups. That's going to help us out tremendously when he is in the game. Talking about Dameon Pierce, when he is in the game, teams think we are going to just run the football. So, and that was actually an issue. I remember that coming up several times last year in October and November, is that teams stack the box when Dameon Pierce was in, because it only meant one thing. They were going to run the ball. They would bring in other backs when there was any sort of blocking involved. So if we can get away from that situation, could be good for Pierce.
Yeah, I mean, kidding aside, tight ends, we don't want them to block. Running backs have to block, because if they don't, it's like coach will look for any little thing. You can miss one block in 3 weeks, like that's a big deal.
That's it.
It's a big deal. It's a more sophisticated offense than they had last year. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming a coaching staff with like much higher expectations for the running backs, like the overall things we should. I mean, if they're going to run anything like the Kyle Shanahan system, we noticed how sophisticated it is, how demanding it is of the running backs. So it has to get better at blocking. And two, like you said, Devin Singletary, even where I knew he was a good blocker, I just knew he was a veteran that the coaching staffs love. Like the Bills always wanted to move on from him, but he was just like too competent.
Yes.
They could never get him off the field. They tried to replace him so many different times, but he was always just too good at the little things to get him off the field. And that does loom large. So yeah, very good news that Dameon Pierce is getting better. And the good news is running backs do frequently actually get better at blocking.
They do.
Most of the time, obviously, rookie year is a low point. They either bulk up or they improve their technique. They spend their offseason doing things they can't really do before their rookie year, when it's just like a draft rush. A lot of times they're like nursing like old college injuries.
Right.
So he's been able to probably focus on like his technique and his strength building and stuff this offseason. So I actually kind of buy, especially since it's coming from the coaching staff.
Yeah.
But he's improved his blocking and that it's a big deal.
And so I wanted to relate this to that boring running backs piece I wrote a couple weeks ago. You can find that on the site somewhere. And Devin Singletary, checks all those boxes. Like he's boring, man. Like he doesn't really do much well. And but if the coaches like him, if he's blocking well, if he's picking up blitzers, then he's going to get snaps and he's going to get carries in that offense. And I really do think the Houston offense, as the Zoomers would say, is being slept on a little bit. I think projecting them to be better than last year is okay. In fact, way better than last year. I think we could project them for this year.
They will be way, way better than last year. I mean, at least in fantasy, maybe not in real life, but I feel like at the very least, they're going to be producing actual fantasy points, something they have not done either of the past 2 years.
Right.
And just a total wasteland. Like maybe the least fantasy relevant team you'll ever see the past 2 years. The Texans just no receivers, almost nothing in the backfield until Dameon Pierce last year. Nothing at quarterback, nothing at tight end. Just a shocking lack of fantasy production from the Texans the past 2 years. And even if it's not a great real life offense, and even if it's not like a top half fantasy offense, which it won't be, just at least maybe producing 3 or 4 fantasy relevant players, hopefully.
Yeah.
Big step up for the Texans.
So Pierce, I think Pierce is interesting from a zero RB standpoint. That's the only standpoint I can really speak to. He's interesting in both, this backfield is interesting in 2 ways. You can take Pierce in like the 5th round or wherever he's going, 4th round, as like a dead zone option. I know why it's called the dead zone, but or you could just wait a long time and take Singletary and wait to see how it shakes out. And Singletary's one Pierce injury away from being a 3-down back in that offense.
So speaking of running backs doing the little things well and endearing themselves to the coaching staff, Denny, Chris Rodriguez in Washington, who a back that we've seen like kind of a mysterious amount of hype on this offseason, like a hammer power back. Not a mysterious amount, just that he's been like talked up a few times. But the Commanders coaching staff threw a little cold water on this Eric Bieniemy, but also like hyped him up at the same time in the past week by saying he's excelling on special teams.
Yeah.
And basically making it sound like that was the first step toward him getting on the field on offense, and that he's really impressing them on special teams. So he could be saying, listen, this guy's only going to play special teams as a rookie, but he could also be saying he's excelling on special teams. Maybe he can parlay that into some snaps on offense. What is your read on Eric Bieniemy's comments on day 3 rookie Chris Rodriguez, just special team into the hell out of it?
Yeah. I mean, it's probably not good for Rodriguez or those who think that he will try to, pry his way into a role in that Washington backfield. It just there's so little room for him anyway. With both, the Bieniemy seems high on Antonio Gibson. He's making Ron Rivera aware of Antonio Gibson, which is nice. And then Brian Robinson is a coach's favorite. We've talked about him a lot in recent shows. So I don't really know where Rodriguez fits. I mean, unless it's a really deep league, you should not be drafting Rodriguez. It would require an injury to somebody for Rodriguez to get in there. But I think that these comments are just, confirmation that like he is the RB3, folks.
They could be also though. So it's weird how much steam Antonio Gibson has been getting, and Brian Robinson hasn't been getting much steam. It's not necessarily a new regime, but it is a new offensive brain trust. Chris Rodriguez is the only quarterback selected since this new offensive brain trust was hired. I still could see Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson both known for disappointing in their day. Brian Robinson, only 1 year. We know there are extenuating circumstances. He did get better near the end of the season, but I wouldn't completely write Chris Rodriguez off for 2023 just yet. But I also, of course, am not using a pick on him in a 12-team league, 16-player draft. But these comments, I interpret more positively, just to be honest, where he's looking for something good to say about it. He didn't say anything bad. Eric Bieniemy, who we know, doesn't hesitate to do that.
No.
And I was kind of almost, I thought his way of saying he's got some dog in him. And he's got some dog in him, guys. Watch out for this Chris Rodriguez. The dog levels are rising. And he just says the word dog like 15 times the next 60 seconds, and a reporter then had to stop like, what are you talking about, Eric?
Eric, Mr. Bieniemy, why are you barking?
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I just got carried away, but the dog levels are just off the charts, guys. And so Chris Rodriguez, I don't even know why we're talking. It's not going to be redraft relevant. I did use a dynasty pick. I didn't want to. I'm not like a Chris Rodriguez guy, but I think he fell at like the 4th round.
I'm looking at his profile on Player Profiler, and I mean, this is not the greatest profile here. Speed score in the 64th percentile.
One.
Burst score is in the 24th percentile. He doesn't have a young breakout age, nothing like that. But he is a guy. They seem to like him, and he could very well be relevant in this Commanders backfield if they struggle with injuries.
And they have struggled with injuries, and they've also just struggled with struggling. It might not even take an injury for Chris Rodriguez to get a shot. That's like a best case scenario, but it might not even take an injury. Just a name to file away. Raheem Blackshear, Denny, is he a name to file away? He's been drawing praise, as we mentioned in the opening, from Panthers coach Frank Reich. What effect is this going to have on Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, etc.?
Yeah, Raheem Blackshear is apparently turning some heads in Panthers camp, or not training camp, but in mandatory mini camp and other off-season situations. So Blackshear, for those sick enough to play preseason DFS, he is a preseason DFS god among men. Okay, and he's a guy you just wonder, why is this guy not getting regular season touches? It's a curious thing. And I'm waiting for it. I have been waiting for it. In fact, I remember when Bills fans, when the Bills lost Blackshear to Carolina last year, I forget exactly what the transaction was, but they were pretty pissed. They were not happy with losing Blackshear because he seemed to be better than their other running back options at the time. So it is, like Rodriguez, a name to file away. It's another sign that maybe, Miles Sanders is not going to see this predestined 50 receptions. This is the number that's going around now. You just dial him in for 50 receptions on the year. I've never seen anything quite like it, honestly. But I think Reich actually said the number 50. I don't know if we should buy in on that. But I think it also says that if Sanders struggles or goes down to injury, that it's not just going to be Chuba Hubbard. I think Blackshear would be involved.
Could you change if to when Sanders struggles? Because he spent an entire rookie contract disappointing the coach. And just even last year when he had almost 1,300 yards rushing, I think 12 touchdowns. The end of the season, the only thing I ever noticed about Miles Sanders was them pulling him off the field like a critical down and putting in Kenneth Gainwell. He kind of lost the coaching staff's trust again late last year. And very meticulous offense in Philadelphia, like really details-oriented coaching staff. Frank Reich was always the same way in Indianapolis, especially with the running game. Like, it's a high expectations running game that Frank Reich has. And I just wouldn't be stunned if Miles Sanders, once again, didn't live up to the coaching staff expectations. Now, whether that will have any real benefit for Raheem Blackshear remains to be seen. But Raheem, as a guy, I think he had like a 5-year college career, so people don't really want to take him seriously. But there's a lot of interesting things about Raheem Blackshear.
Yeah, so he transferred to Virginia Tech during the COVID season, and then so he had one season basically as their primary rusher. He averaged 5.8 yards per carry. I know that is a boomer stat, but it is impressive nonetheless. He was also
sort of impressive in college. I actually a lot of times they come in like, oh, he averaged 6.9 yards per carry.
Right.
So I know 5.8 it's pretty good, but it's not like elite.
Well, at Virginia Tech, though, I mean, he's not in the Mountain West or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He's playing real teams.
Sort of. Virginia Tech's kind of the real program still. No offense if you're a VT fan, but the Beamer ball ain't coming back.
No, not coming through that door.
Not coming through that door, including the final 10 years of Beamer ball. It was not coming through that door. Beamer ball was last played in, I believe, 2005.
Isn't that there's that great meme of Beamer celebrating a 3-0 win?
No. It was end of regulation 0-0.
And he has his arms in the air.
Both his arms raising there, like grinning, like he had just won the national championship.
Oh, that's funny. Wow.
That is one of the better football memes. By the way, Raheem Blackshear, so my son just turned 5. He's like super, super into pirates. Raheem Blackshear, that's like one of the most pirate names I've ever heard, I feel like.
It is.
He sounds like a born and bred pirate.
Right. Blackshear is absolutely. I mean, he needs to walk around with a pirate patch,
Yes.
I believe.
My son is literally going around the house calling people scallywags.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's really, really into pirates. He got a looking glass. Now it's like all he's doing is looking glass at things. We are through what
you need to watch with him. You need to watch John Carpenter's The Fog.
Oh, is that a pirate? John Carpenter is a pirate movie?
We have ghost pirates just slaughtering people in that movie, folks.
Really? Oh, that sounds kind of amazing, actually.
It's I love.
It's suitable for a 5-year-old, right?
Oh yeah, he definitely won't be traumatized.
Especially someone who just turned 5, right?
That's the prime age to watch John Carpenter horror.
He's a young 5. Does that matter? So we'll be right back after this. Just a reminder, Sunday mornings mean MLB Leadoff on Peacock. You can live stream games all season long, and this week the American League West leading Texas Rangers travel to the nation's capital to face the Nationals. Coverage of the game begins at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Again, that is exclusively on Peacock. And also, don't forget, we have a new website. First off, we hear you. There are some bugs we are working through, but I like the new website. It's very clean. It's not as much NFL news as I would like on it right now because it's a slow time of year. That's one thing that's frustrated me about the new website. We haven't had a ton of news to put on it yet.
Right.
Check out our new website. Really ready to rock on mobile. We're still tweaking it on desktop. It's going to be good to go for the regular season, though. Again, we're working through a few small little things, but I really do think the website's on the path to greatness.
Yeah, I on Twitter, I made a little video tutorial of how to look at player news because this is something I heard a lot is there's no more player news. And folks, I hate to break it to you, but there is player news. There's lots of it. And what you do is you go to our site and then you click on the player news tab and then that's it. Like it's real easy. You could just do that.
We really are having some new site frustrations, but we also really are working through them. And there's going to be some different landing pages. We're going to make a few things just make more sense. It's just it's such a huge undertaking to do a new website. Even for like a large company, you'd be like shocked the things that just like don't seem obvious that all of a sudden like, oh wow, yeah, we need to change that. And so check out the new site. It's already good. It's going to be even better. We like it a lot. We also like bad football players, Denny. And
we do.
You wanted to talk about some late round wide receivers, did you not? Guys going the 10th round or later. It's like pick 120 and beyond. Who's the first late round receiver you want to talk about? By the way, we were supposed to do 2. I only have 1, sort of.
I have about 11. So
okay, good.
Good. Even though I never take these guys, and I'm never in position to take these guys because I already have all the receivers. But anyway, Rondale Moore, 10th round pick and 12 team league.
So hold on, before you can even get going, like we're seriously doing this again.
Oh, we're doing. Oh,
seriously doing this again.
Oh, we are absolutely doing this again,
right.
And we're going to be happy about it.
Right.
Okay, 10th rounder. So he's hurt all the time. That's one thing. But if he's not hurt, if he actually is healthy this year, he's not going to have a ton of target competition because obviously DeAndre Hopkins is gone. All you have really is Marquise Brown among the receivers who's going to command targets. Hopefully the new Cardinals regime will learn from the mistakes of Cliff Kingsbury and deploy Rondale Moore, not as an outside boundary receiver at 5'7", but rather as an inside slot guy. Okay. He has shown some ability to command targets. He had 8 or more targets in 4 of his 5 final games last year before his season-ending whatever injury, hamstring, can't remember, knee, ankle, just you name it with Rondale Moore. But so I think that he is instantly the wide receiver 2 in an offense that will probably have to throw a lot because man, the Cardinals stink. So could be good. It's
also just hard to see how they could be like less efficient than they were during the Cliff Kingsbury death rattle. And there's just no way they could be less creative than they were either. And Rondale Moore just required more creative usage. And I don't know really a ton about Drew Petzing, the new Cardinals offensive coordinator. And when I say I don't know a ton, I do know literally nothing about him.
I have to admit that that is the first time I've heard that name.
He is coming from the Kevin Stefanski coaching tree, though. A guy who's known how to maximize the talent he's had in Cleveland. Didn't always have a ton of receiver talent. But you have to think there's going to be more creative usage, or as you hinted at least more sensible usage with Rondale Moore than we had under Cliff Kingsbury. And I agree. I mean, they need it's a bad team. This is gonna be it's gonna be about getting through this year. They need someone to absorb targets. Rondale Moore certainly profiles as a targets absorber. If he can stay healthy, like you said, he has not done a good job of that.
No, we would need that. But I think that all that uncertainty is built into that ADP of 10th round. And honestly, in your casual league and your family league, I mean, you're getting Rondale Moore, I don't know, 15th round probably, in a lot of formats.
He's probably not even getting drafted.
I mean, there will be a lot of 10-team leagues. He's not drafted at all.
12-team leagues, he's probably not even drafted, to be honest.
You don't think? Well, yeah.
No.
And so, it's kind of a, there's not much downside, is what I'm saying, in going in on more. Now, I will say, you are in no way are you drafting Rondale Moore in a standard league. Please,
no,
do not. If you're not getting 1 point per reception, you just have to cross out Rondale Moore's name.
You do, you do. And producer Adam noticed something I couldn't help but notice on Drew Petzig's Wikipedia again, who I knew a lot about him coming into this show. Yeah, but Adam and I couldn't help but notice that he has had coaching stops at Harvard and Yale. And I know that sometimes a good Yaley knows that you simply do not put Rondale Moore on the boundary.
Yeah, and got to use those brains, buddy.
Got to use those big, beautiful brains that everyone at our Ivy League institutions have, and has nothing whatsoever to do with legacy admissions.
No, there's never been one legacy admission.
No, there has not, and no, there's a lot of very smart people, but also a lot of legacy admissions. But by the way, we have a user comment talking about Raheem Blackshear and another very pirate name, also a former Carolina Panther, Captain Munnerlyn.
Captain Munnerlyn.
That's about as pirate as it gets too. Yeah, there we go. Raheem Blackshear and Captain Munnerlyn.
I mean, Captain Munnerlyn sounds like he died of scurvy in 1782.
Or no, he had like an infection after he got like barely grazed with a sword on his forearm.
Yeah, right.
It turned into like a crippling
infection
that killed him on the high seas.
He looked like an 80-year-old man. He was 32.
Yeah, and he died from an infection that the doctor wouldn't even have to see you today. They would just call in to CVS. Like, yeah, whatever. Just
right. Go get a Band-Aid, man. I don't know.
Yeah, just get a Band-Aid. It killed him. But Denny, who's another late round receiver that we like?
I like Parris Campbell, who is going in at the end of the 11th round. I know.
Man.
Here's the profile of the receivers that Pat hates. Slot guys who get injured a lot. If you're a slot guy who gets injured a lot, you need not apply to be on Pat Daugherty's fantasy team. But and I love you, by the way. I want you every time. I'm just gobbling up the slot guys with injuries. So Parris Campbell, lots of positive reporting out of Giants mini camp about him as the slot guy. So we may remember, you may be old enough to remember Richie James excelling as the primary slot guy in the Daniel Jones-led Giants offense last year. He saw 70 slot targets last year, and he didn't even really emerge as an every down player until the second half of the season. So what I'm saying is you get Parris Campbell in that role. Danny Dimes loves the check down, refuses to throw it downfield. And I'm saying that plays out well for a guy like Campbell.
Yeah, even with the much more sophisticated offense last year, Dimes just didn't go down the field. It's not the Dimesman. It's where the Dimesman fears to tread is beyond 12 or 13 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. And the thing about Parris Campbell, he did finally stay healthy last year. He did catch 63 balls in 17 games. Not exactly like lighting the world on fire, but certainly like lighting up on the PPR league radar. Like there's a dot now beeping on the radar. Like, oh wow, you seen this, Admiral? Like this dot. This wasn't on the radar before.
Yeah,
that's just Parris Campbell. Shoot that down immediately. That's what
you would do.
Yeah, it's true. But no, he has been getting coaching staff hype from Brian Dable's coaching staff, and something you certainly have to take notice of. Brian Dable, too, seems like kind of a straight shooter as the head coach. where not nearly as much smoke and mirrors or artifice with him.
No.
And so he finally had a bit of a breakout. Is very strong for what Parris Campbell did last year. He finally just had an NFL season. And now he's got a good coach talking him up. So certainly someone who needs to be on the radar.
So, yeah, and I think it's worth noting that Campbell would have had a better year last year if there was more stability in the Indianapolis offense, which was extremely unstable. With Matt Ryan under center, he was seeing a lot of snaps, a lot of slot targets that sort of faded away when they started to play that weird Sam Ehlinger game, and then whoever else started for them, I can't even remember.
Who was? Oh, I mean Nick Foles.
Nick Foles. Whoa. Wow. And so yeah, I mean having a guy who likes to just check down over and over and over. I mean you're looking to cash in on those habits or on those tendencies, and it's similar, not to get too in the weeds here, but it's similar to why I'm out on Michael Pittman, because his game doesn't mesh well, I don't think, with Anthony Richardson. So it's goes both ways.
We have another user comment on pirate names, by the way. Barcavius Mingo, potential pirate, and of course Greedy Williams. Greedy Williams would be. I can already see like Greedy Williams's Wikipedia, where he's like a former like British Navy admiral who became a pirate for some reason. He died in like 1792.
Yeah.
And then like the beginning of his Wikipedia was Montgomery, air quotes, Greedy Williams was a British admiral turned pirate in the Caribbean seas who was splintered apart by a cannonball in 1792.
while holding a chest worth $40 million in gold.
As greedy as he had absconded with the Aztec gold that he had found.
He walked 200 miles with a 1-ton chest of gold,
only to be blown apart by one of his former British Navy comrades. Yeah, nevertheless, Greedy wasn't a great end for Greedy. Just going to keep filibustering because I don't even really have it. I mean, I want to talk about Rashid Shaheed, I guess.
Yeah. Talk to me about Rashid Shaheed. You are his number one truther. Tell us why.
Well, if you like slot guys, they get hurt a lot. I do just always, anyone who makes big plays, I'm so addicted to like the chunk yardage guys, and which is a really bad archetype to be addicted to in fantasy, especially in PPR, because they don't become compilers. But Rashid Shaheed was very, very interesting. As I couldn't even remember if he was a rookie last year or just a first round contributor. It was the first year he was on the NFL. He was already 24. I'm looking up his Wikipedia real quick to see if he was a rookie last year. He was an undrafted rookie, very old, but he just forced his way onto the field. That's something I always take notice to. Like a day 3 guy, certainly an undrafted guy, kind of makes themselves undeniable. And Rashid Shaheed did that and averaged almost 18 yards per catch. He was making big plays, like on the reg, quote unquote, as it's known, down the stretch. His yards per route run, I think, would have been tied for 3rd. I don't think he ran enough routes to qualify for Pro Football Focus's metric. But he was just a guy all last year I was like very intrigued by. Like, man, and such a bad offense too. Like just forcing his way onto the field, and not just forcing his way onto the field, but like making plays once he got there. Should be a better overall offensive. Not that Derek Carr is like some massive improvement on Andy Dalton, but expecting a better overall offensive environment. And Rashid Shaheed, kind of understandably, is getting no steam whatsoever. And I just wouldn't be shocked to see him be like one of those random guys who, not trying to damn with faint praising him, but every week your ranking is like the wide receiver 40. Right. AKA not someone you really want to play, but someone who's going to be on your roster. And this is kind of how I view Rashid Shaheed.
I hate to take the easy way out, but I am going to say that Rashid Shaheed seems better in best ball.
It's true. He does.
You are going to get some massive weeks. You're going to get a 2-catch, 100-yard, 1-touchdown performance, from Shaheed. You're also going to get a lot of zeros probably. So that's the way it goes. But yeah, I mean, I can definitely, I can see the allure in certain formats of Shaheed. I also think Derek Carr, man, is he willing to let it rip like that? Like,
he actually kind of does chuck it downfield and ran. He's a bit more of a chucker than you'd realize, I would say. Yeah. Maybe not on the reg, to use that again.
You love that term.
He's not like bombing it deep, like at will, but he's more willing to chuck, I think, than a lot of quarterbacks are. A lot of times to his detriment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, really no idea why Derek Carr did that.
Right.
He did just do that.
You know, the numbers bear that out. He was 9th last year in downfield passing rate at 14.1%. He threw 11 touchdowns of more than 20 yards last year, which was 3rd in the league.
Oh, yeah, he's a chucker. He is a chucker. He's a much better fit for Rashid Shaheed's skill set than Andy Dalton was. But again, when I say I'm interested in Rashid Shaheed, it's just someone who's going to be like in a very best case scenario, like the wide receiver 40. That was also what he was being ranked as most of the second half of last season.
Right.
So it's almost as like him running it back on his role. And again, not really PPR friendly, but he's bench friendly. That's what I'll say.
Sure. For the last player here, I just wanted to mention our former colleague Patrick Crane giving some steaming up, as the kids say, steaming up Robert Woods recently on Twitter. Do you see this? Do you see this, folks? I've
not seen this. I was on Pat Crane's podcast this week, by the way. Check it out. Again, someone else on the show was invited, but
I was, and
it was a very inconvenient family time.
I hope to one day stay up past 9 o'clock to be able to do that.
Anyways.
So let me tell you about Pat Crane's Robert Woods propaganda, which actually got me. At first I saw it and I was like, this Pat has too much time on his hands. I'm worried about Crane. He's talking about Robert Woods. The least sexy fantasy player alive, not Crane, very sexy, but Robert Woods. And let me tell you what Crane said. He said, okay, Robert Woods, he got $10 million guaranteed. So the contract bros are in automatically. I don't even have to read anything else. The contract bros are all in on Robert Woods. He's joining a system he knows inside and out. That is true. 2 years removed from his ACL injury, something I had not considered. He's 31, as Crane says, old, but not ancient.
It's good to know.
Which is, I think that's actually a really, really good way of putting it. 18th round ADP, so basically free. And, he's going like way after Adam Thielen, who's probably, as Crane says here, probably dustier than Woods, which, I take a little offense to, but whatever. So, is it seeing this? Is it the worst pick? I don't think it is. And like I said earlier, if the Houston Texans offense is going to be vastly improved, then somebody's going to benefit. Somebody. It might as well be Woods, right?
Might as well be Woods. And the final name I want, so Robert Woods, of course, anyone too with that like history of compiling, that history of PPR, but like coaches just love that. It kind of just never goes away. And if he actually is healthy, Robert Woods is an interesting, again, who no one wants, like absolutely nobody wants Robert Woods. But if you want cheap receptions and what we think is going to be a more competent offense, Robert Woods is an interesting place to look.
I mean, he's before you get to your guy, he's a guy you have to accept what's happening there. Okay. Like you can't say, Tank Dell. You can't say, I like that fancy rookie Tank Dell. Okay. And I'm taking him over Robert Woods. And I don't care. His ceiling is sky high. And then Robert Woods comes out and establishes himself as the clear number one receiver. And you could definitely say, oh, we should have seen that coming. We know this going into the season.
And that happens like several places league wide every single year where we cling to some rookie, like not that Tank Dell's resume is flimsy and he has some good real life draft capital too, but he's a rookie and he's someone counted on to be a compiler as a rookie and it could very, very easily go sideways. So Robert Woods is someone we can't just totally forget about. The wide receiver 100 on Underdog is Tutu Atwell. And he's someone who did a little mix of like compiling and some big plays last year. Not compiling is probably a stretch, but he flashed a little bit of why the Rams used a second round pick on him.
Yeah.
Sean McVay himself talked him up pretty extensively in late June, just like 10 days ago, saying he was going to have a role. And basically saying he wasn't sure if he deserved a role until last year. And he's basically like, he got an opportunity and he ran with it. It was kind of the tenor of McVay's comments. It's still not a very deep receiver core. I mean, they have the great man at the top in Cooper Kupp, and then just Van Jefferson, a pure role player, Ben Skowronek, who honestly maybe shouldn't even be on the roster. Puka.
Are you kidding me? With you're leaving Puka Nacua till fourth?
I am.
He should be second. He should be the second person off your lips when you're talking about Rams receivers.
So Tutu is just actually produced now a little bit in this offense. Wide receiver 100 seems a little bearish to me on Tutu Atwell. I don't even know why we're talking, because it's not like he's going to be like a 16-team redraft guy, at least to begin the year. But I mean, he's going behind Justin Ross. He's going behind Corey Davis. He's going behind Michael Wilson. He's going behind Allen Robinson. Like, I would rather have Tutu Atwell 100 times out of 100 over Allen Robinson. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be surprised if Tutu gets a little more steam as the summer went, basically. And it becomes a theme that the Rams are talking about.
Speaking of Allen Robinson, I preemptively reject all Allen Robinson hype, and it's coming. It's coming. Okay?
It always does.
It always happens. They say, he just didn't know what he was doing in LA. But now with Pittsburgh, no. I'm sorry, no. No. So I want Puka Nacua out of the non-Cup Rams receivers. Obviously, I've made this clear, almost too clear, some would say, over the past couple months. and others would say, can you just shut up about Puka Nacua, please? But yeah, I mean, Atwell was actually pretty good. You look at the metrics, you look at the analytics, and they all say he was really good in limited opportunities, and he got a full route share last year at near the end of the season. So it does say something about the way that McVay sees him. I do think we're talking more like a Shaheed type player who's, when he hits, and it's going to be kind of maddening to figure out when that is. Yeah,
his ceiling is, again, probably exactly like the Rashid Shaheed, like wide receiver 40, which that's maybe asking, like, what do you win when you win that? Like, why are we bothering to talk about that? And one of the answers is that it's July 3rd. But
there you go.
Tutu Atwell, I feel very, very confident he will not be the wide receiver 100 and will rank probably in like at least the top 70, which again, you're like, wow, cool, Pat.
That won me my league.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
we told you July 3rd, Tutu Atwell would not be the wide receiver 100. He ended up as the wide receiver 92. We told you.
No, he'd be the wide receiver 62, Denny. It's gonna be amazing.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, now we are talking. Now we're done talking. The show is over.
All right.
Any last words, Denny?
I didn't know it was that dire. Enjoy the fireworks if that's something that you can possibly enjoy. Because
wow, really?
No, it's terrible.
This may shock people. I'm a huge fireworks head. It doesn't fit with my like personally conservative brand, but I've always been a huge fireworks head.
I mean, but getting there,
maybe shooting some off tonight. Oh, I don't mean going to the show. I mean shooting them off.
Oh my God, I would burn down my entire neighborhood.
They probably haven't been legal in Maryland since like 1792.
Oh no, they definitely are. I mean, you can't buy liquor here on Sundays, man. You can't do fireworks.
I've been in DC on the 4th of July before, and this is not a joke. We had to make a pilgrimage to West Virginia to buy fireworks.
Oh, yes. I was in West Virginia the other day, and let me tell you, the people love their fireworks.
They love their fireworks in West Virginia, and it will not shock you that they love them in Missouri. It currently sounds like multiple counteroffensives are taking place. The artillery is in place and is being blasted. So we love our fireworks in Missouri, myself included. So have a happy and safe 4th of July holiday. We'll be back later this week to preview the NFC South.